Hey y'all, it's Jodi Terrell with Our Flipping Life, and today we're going to talk about higher education, self-education. I'm sorry, my hair's weird today, so I'm probably going to keep messing with it. I got static. It's that time of year. But anyway, so I've been wanting to do a little video on this because these are a few of my favorite books that I wanted to go through, and there's actually I think 3 other ones that are in my top favorite, or 4 other ones that are my top favorite that I actually have lent out to friends. And actually, this book here, the little purple book, is Rich Dad Poor Dad. You've heard me talk about it. And Joe, who is our wonderful videographer and social media expert who's behind the camera, Joe is currently reading my copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad. So, I highly recommend starting with this one. I think it's seriously like $7.99 on Amazon, and this little purple book will change your life. Get it and read it. This is what I'm currently reading, The E-Myth for real estate investors. They have several adaptations of this book, so I'm reading the one that's for real estate investors, but they have different ones for different industries, but the E in E-Myth is for entrepreneur, and I really have enjoyed this book because it's basically talking about really getting some systems and procedures in place so that you can grow and scale your business. So it's highly recommend that one. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. All right, I'm going to talk about this one in a second along with some of these other ones. This is Mary Kay on people management. I think that this book, along with a couple of other ones, when I stage houses, a lot of times I go to the thrift store and just buy like random books, and because I like the color or whatever, and I use them for staging. But over the past 12 months or so, when I've really got on this tear of reading, I've ended up reading a couple of them, and they've been pretty good because actually, let's see, let me find it. Oh, no, this one was another one that I read that I just had like sitting on a shelf, the 10 Commandments for Business Failure, and it was pretty good. This guy was like, he was friends with like Lee Iacocca and Bill Gates and lots of other people, and it's a quick, easy little read, but that's not like on my top 10 list at all. So then we put Mary Kay over there. We got the E-Myth. Read this bad boy, which is I probably go back to it more often than anything because this is the best ever apartment syndication book by Joe Fairless. Joe Fairless is in the multifamily syndication world. There's a couple of big players. You got Grant Cardone. Oh, I read a Grant Cardone book too. I don't even know where it's at. Anyway, but the Joe Fairless is a big player, Michael Blanc, Grant Cardone. So anything that these guys put out, or if you can listen to their podcast, that's awesome. But Grant Cardone, I just found out he's a Scientologist, and that really bothers me. I watched that whole thing with Leah Remini or whatever. And anyways, I don't know about Grant Cardone. He's kind of gone off the deep end. But he still has a lot of really good business principles. Don't get caught in his religion, though, because Jesus is the only way to heaven. Anyway, this one, Never Split the Difference by Voss. I actually started reading it and I was really pumped up about it, and I got to, let's see where I'm bookmarked. I don't know, I'm about halfway through. Yeah, here. A lot of people really love this book, and it's about negotiations, and I have been able to pick up some pretty valuable tips from this book, but I don't know, I got bored and I quit reading it, so that's in my pile of need to finish. The Pumpkin Plan. Okay, so great funny story behind this one. I was actually listening to a podcast, I think it was a Bigger Pockets podcast, and I had this crazy idea that let me back up. So Josh and I last year, we ended up buying this house, and we originally bought the house in like 12.5 acres, but then we bought the field next to us, which is another 15 acres, and they've been planting soybeans in it forever, and it's not really made that much money. And so when we bought it, I told Josh, I said, we have to figure out how to make this thing make some money. So I started kind of looking into like small little hobby farms, and I thought maybe we get some cows, maybe we get some goats, and then I started thinking about like infections and antibiotics and anyway, so I decided no on livestock, not going there. But I started reading about pumpkins, and I got so fired up about planting pumpkins. And so anyway, JoJo's Pumpkin Farm It's coming soon. Pumpkin Patch, JoJo's Pumpkin Patch. It was a working title, but anyway, we are going to try to plant some pumpkins in the spring, but I'm really excited about doing, I don't want to plant just orange pumpkins. I want to plant designer pumpkins. Look it up. They actually have pink pumpkins, and I think that would be awesome. So anyway, JoJo's Pumpkin Patch coming soon in 2020. But anyway, so I had been obsessing about planting pumpkins, and I'm listening to this podcast, and this guy, Michalowicz, was on, and he was talking about another book that he had written that was coming out, but he mentioned, like in the intro, that he was the author of The Pumpkin Plan. And I was like, whoa, back that up, because sometimes God just talks to you in weird ways. So I ended up ordering this book, and I read it, and it was exactly what I needed at exactly the right time. And so the premise behind this book is he compares your business to these pumpkin farmers who grow these gigantic world record breaking pumpkins. And he talks about how how the farmers actually get to grow these giant pumpkins. And so what they do, they plant seeds. First of all, you got to start with good seed. So that's like rule number one in business and in growing giant pumpkins. You got to plant the right seeds. And then as your vines start to grow, the pumpkins that are not doing well, that maybe they're deformed or they've got a little bit of rot or mold or mildew, these farmers, man, they do not spend time and energy working on those pumpkins. They literally cut them off the vine, and they spend all their time and effort loving and nurturing and growing the best of the best. And so it's talking about using that same principle in business where you really sit down and analyze your customers, your clients, and the people who are your great clients, your great customers who make you happy, make you want to go to work. Those are the ones that you need to pour yourself into and spend your time on. And the ones that are driving you crazy, that never thankful for what you do for them, who just complain all the time, basically saying, cut them loose, cut them off the vine. So that is the story behind the Pumpkin Plan, and I highly recommend this book. I love it. Then, okay, so that's going in my favorites pile. So then that brings me to this one, which is the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And man, I just love Tim Ferriss. Okay, he's a little colorful in his language sometimes. My phone's ringing. Shut it up. He's a little colorful in his language sometimes, but he basically has the same philosophies as Mike does in the Pumpkin Plan, which is kind of like this 80-20 rule. And so basically, if you sat down and analyzed what you're doing, 80% of your income a lot of times comes from 20% of your clients or your output. And so it's basically cutting the rest of the people loose. So, really sort of zeroing in on that 20% of your effort and your time that's most productive, and then eventually getting to the 4-hour work week. And Tim Ferriss is like living the dream, man. I mean, he tells some of his stories of what he calls his mini retirements. And that's definitely a huge goal for me. I don't really want to retire, but I want to be able to take 30 days off and go to Thailand, which is what he does all the time, and it sounds awesome. And that's the life I want to live, and I want you to live that life too. So you got to start by being inspired and reading and educating yourself. These are some classics here. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't finish this one. I'm on chapter 8. It goes back in the pile if I need to finish it. And Think and Grow Rich. I love the first part of this book. About in the middle, it gets kind of crazy, but I still recommend reading it. It's also by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure you've heard of him. And then the same thing with this one, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So what a lot of these books have in common, let me back up. So then a couple of other books that I highly recommend is a book called Traction. Oh, I should know who wrote that, but I don't. I'll find out and I'll put it in comments. A book called Traction, and then there are the Miracle Morning, which was a great book. I actually lent it to a friend of mine by Hal Elrod. Hal Elrod's story is absolutely amazing, and how he changed his life by just starting his day out right and spending an hour each day really like his theory is that if you can own your morning, you know, if you can conquer your morning, you can conquer anything. And I really believe there's something to that, because that's kind of a common thread between a lot of these like classics that you read. And then I also read the 4 Disciplines of Execution, which is I've lent it to a friend as well, and it's also fabulous. I can't remember who wrote it, but I'll find out. It's not somebody uber famous, but it was a really, really, really good book. It's powerful as far as like being able to, because it's one thing to write your goals. You know, you write your goals, you're like, oh, this is what I want to do. But then I think people, and I'm speaking for myself too, you get lost in the plan. Like, how do I get from A to B? And so the 4 Disciplines of Execution, that really forces you, and really the book Traction as well, to kind of taking those goals and breaking those down into steps. You know, you can break it down to, okay, I need to have this done, you know, by the end of the month, which means that I need to do this every week, which means that tomorrow I need to do this. And it really does help you stay focused on everything. But, you know, the biggest takeaway that I think I have gotten, that I've gained from reading all of this in a short period of time, is that really the secrets to success in life is very, very, very simple. It's the easy things, but it's those easy things that no one wants to do, which is, you know, it's like right now, if you wanted to be in the best shape of your life, if you wanted to have 6% body fat and be able to run a marathon and everything, I can tell you exactly what you need to do, and you know what you need to do. You need to eat right, and you need to exercise every day, and you need to be consistent about it. But it's that consistency that is so hard, and it's the same thing in sales or anything that you do. It's just getting on a schedule and being accountable for your time, and in doing those activities that are going to be the most fruitful for you. So anyway, easier said than done. I struggle on the daily, but I'm getting better each day, and I believe that reading and listening to podcasts and continuing to educate yourself is a huge part of that. So you guys, get out there, start reading. I love all these books. I never thought that I was going to be a crazy reading fanatic, but I have turned into it. So anyway, get out there, hustle, make some deals, educate yourself. And if you need me, you can always call me, 256-504-JODI. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, Hour Flipping Life, Instagram, we're at hour.flipping.life, and then of course subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Hour Flipping Life. All right, guys, y'all have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you later. Bye.